All right, in today's video, we're gonna be talking about how I made $600 a day selling products with no ad spend from DHgate.com. This is about 5 years ago now. It was a really interesting experience. I just kind of happened upon this situation. I'm gonna share my screen with you right now. So I was actually on a call, consulting call with one of my students at the time, and they mentioned that they were selling these cheap headphones on eBay, I believe. And the conversation ended with me being like, well, I'll try them on Amazon and see how they do. I, of course, asked him, since he brought up the idea. I wasn't like stealing his idea or anything or talking about it. It's like, yeah, go for it, see what happens. So anyway, I go to DHgate, and I'll actually show you this now. I just signed in for the first time in years and actually found my order. So you can see here, 2019, June 18th of 2019, I spent $1,500 on these headphones for 200 of them. And I actually still remember this. I sent these to my house. You see there was $7.88 a unit, and I was listing them for $24.99. However, the box is like this big. So my fees were only like $3.90 a unit, $4 a unit. So I was at 12 all in. I was making 50% margins, and I had no ad spend. So let's get to that part of it, right? There was people that via social media or whatever had caught onto this term TWSI12. There was a lot of search volume for it at the time, nothing now, but it was like AirPods had just launched. They're one of their second generations. People were looking for, they were really blowing up. People were looking for a cheap version of headphones that looked just like AirPods. And you can see the relationship here. I mean, AirPods at the time were $200. That's not even the same one. There was one that looked, they might be completely copyrighted now, and we'll get to that part of the story. But there was ones that looked exactly like AirPods. We're talking, you could not distinguish them from this. This was what they looked like, right? And you can see that on my order here. I wonder if I could still open this listing, even taken down. They might have got cease and desist for that. But kind of see there, right? The case is like, it was AirPods. Even the way it opened up the software, it was like AirPods, right? So right place, right time, I list these things. And I had this whole plan, like, I was an Amazon FBA private label seller. I was like, I'm going to make a great listing for them. I can't change the product in every way. This is not a differentiation thing. This is, I'm listing them and I'm just going to have the best listing. So what I did at the time, there was a lot of sellers who just had, you don't even see this anymore, but it was like those on not even a full white background. It'd be like someone took a picture of them on their counter, or someone took a picture of them and like really badly photoshopped them. So quite literally, I was one of the first people to be like, well, I'm a great photo editor. I'm just going to take really high quality photos of these in my light box. I'm going to here's seemingly a mistake that I made later that we'll get to, but my photos were so good that after, I forget what the exact time frame was, it might have been 2 months, I got a copyright strike from Apple because they thought I was using their photo. I wasn't actually using their photo. They don't have the photo anymore. At one time, there was like one of the AirPods was lifted out of the charging case. Okay, so it looked just like this. I did not copy their photo. I took my own photo just like that, but because it looked so similar, they legitimately thought that I had taken, like I just opened save image as and I was using their photo. Wasn't the case. Nonetheless, I got copyright striked and suspended. Well, not my account suspended, the listing suspended, and I couldn't continue selling the products anymore. Now, what's funny is at the time, I wasn't the brightest when it comes to intellectual property. I didn't realize what that notice was saying. Copyright is that, the photo I was using was the issue. I don't know why I was just caught up in the flustered of like deactivated copyright strike. I had other products selling at the time. I was just like, okay, I'll just stop selling it. In retrospect, I realized maybe a year later, I was like, wait a second, I could have just I just had to change the main image. I don't know why that didn't click for me at the time, which is part of the funny story. But this was one of those products where because people were looking for this as an AirPod knockoff, and I was the clear choice. My main image looked more similar to this, by the way, even better if you ask me. But this listing still to this day is selling somewhat of a new version of these that technically are not look like they don't infringe upon Apple's design. I think that started to be a real issue, even though I think my image is what got me flagged. I think the actual design of the headphones is, you can't even buy them anymore. So that must have been inevitably a problem. So it was probably the best decision that I just stopped selling them anyway. But when I listed these, it was one of those where and these products still exist to this day. I went to DHgate, and by the way, it's like AliExpress, and you could see what I was ordering here. This one was canceled for some reason. This one completed, completed. So there's 300 of those, another 100 of those. I tried different styles, right? So I like even bought a more expensive pair, and I was like on this wireless headphone grind. I was just listing stuff that I got for really cheap. I actually sent these products to my house, and I'll never do this again. I labeled them myself. You do not consider how long it takes to apply 300 sticker labels to packages. Like 300 headphones. I think I watched like 2 or 3 movies while I was just applying labels all day. So that part wasn't worth it. If I had done this again, I would have asked the manufacturer to just label them for me. But I thought this was kind of a unique story because there's all these different elements woven into how this worked. Right place, right time. Someone brings it up to me. Let's try this on Amazon. You should do it, see what happens. It lists, I turn on PPC. I make a couple sales with PPC, but what I start to notice is that, well, I only spent X amount on PPC, and I think by my second day, I made 15 sales organically. And I was like, I'm just going to turn the PPC off. I'm not going to spend any more money on this. And before I knew it, I was selling $600, $700, $800 a day of this product just because I had the best listing. Now, there's a part of that kind of plays into what I do now, which is I just try and be the best marketer of the product. A person will pay twice as much for the same product in different packaging. That's definitely true. Right? Definitely true. At the time, I didn't have different packaging, but packaging in the sense of like the way I presented the offer, instead of someone showing a picture of it sitting on their bed sheets, it was on a great, high quality, up-to-date listing, and I had close-ups of it in my ear, and I had, the whole thing, professional listing quality. So I'm not saying this doesn't work anymore. There are still markets in which if there is search volume for something, the only other options suck, and then you are the clear choice. That's kind of the winning formula almost everywhere. And you can still go spend $1,500 on AliExpress or DHgate if you have the right market. Because if the opportunity in the market and the landscape's right, even a mediocre entrepreneur can go and flip it and make a few $1,000s. Where we start running into trouble is like, look what it ended in. I just had to stop selling it. So it's not really a good strategy long term for that to be what you want to spend your time building when you have finite time to build any business you're going to build in your lifetime, and the one that you ultimately want to own, you should probably be proud of and have your name behind and have a sense of certainty that it's not going to disappear. It's not a good strategy. I'm not promoting this strategy, but it was an interesting story, right? Because it's not often that you just take a product that you have to do literally nothing to from one site listed on another site, not spend any money on marketing, and just because you put it on another site, you start making hundreds of dollars a day. That was a pretty cool experience. Far from what I currently do with my Made in the USA high quality brand, in which I found certainty and stability, right? This was very high fluctuation. Now what I have is very stable. But yeah, we're balancing out some stock right now, 30K in the last. I'm not envious of my past self in this situation, but it's not a story that I've told here on YouTube yet. I have announced what I sold, that I've sold these before, but never really the full story. So kind of a roller coaster of a ride. Hopefully you enjoyed that story here. Be sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss future videos, and I will see you in the next one. Later.